Okay. Good morning, evening, afternoon, good moment, everybody. Welcome to this celebration of Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo's anniversary. Thank you all for joining the KVP team for enabling this session, and of course, thank you Khyentse Rinpoche for being our guiding light of this entire project, and thank you to Rinpoche for being here today with us. Yeah, my name is Arne Schelling. I'm one of the team members of Khyentse Vision Project. I never really remember the exact title of my job, but the idea is that I'm the research editor. And before we asked Dr. Rinpoche to teach on the newly published text by Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo about the Mandala practice, which will be followed by a short Q&A, I wanted to say a few words about merit in general and also the importance of the accumulation of merit. Because the entire Buddhist path could basically be understood as consisting of these two accumulations of merit and wisdom. And I think Dr. Rinpoche will touch that as well, and I'm sure we will have some nice discussions on that afterwards. In this newly translated text, Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo explains very intimately and poetically how to offer a mandala for the entire universe and how that then accumulates immense amounts of merit. And it is about that kind of auspiciousness that we want to bring in the world by doing this, and also that is our core vision of Khyentse Vision Project. And therefore, yeah, I'm very happy that especially today, on this anniversary day of Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo, we publish and talk about this special text. So, what is merit? Merit is definitely something that we have heard from right from the beginning of our Buddhist journey, like this term merit, but it's quite a complex thing. It has many layers, and it's not that easy to understand, I think. And punya in Sanskrit. And I'm sure you have come across more general explanations or definitions of merit, like that it's the positive power or the benefit, or maybe peace and happiness that results from good actions, such as our Dharma practice. Or maybe also that it's like a positive potential, for experiencing future happiness, again, resulting from constructive, positive, altruistic actions. But when we really look into merit, I think the merit that we want to accumulate could be a little bit different, because we are not just wanting happiness, we not just want a nice villa, a nice car, a good partner, or an amazing reputation and freedom from sickness. But I think once we put our foot on the Mahayana journey, we want to go beyond these worldly things, worldly gains and worldly happiness. And we are more interested in benefiting others, or we are more interested in seeing the truth. And therefore, I like very much how Khyentse Rinpoche is usually defining marriage, like that which brings us closer to the truth, or the ability to think differently. So I think that is something very important to contemplate or discuss upon. What brings us closer to the truth, or what makes us think differently. And so therefore, it might not be about just getting like a samsaric upgrade, like having a more fancy world or samsara that we're experiencing, or avoiding worldly problems, but it's more like the merit that makes us meet the Dharma and makes us to be receptive to it, and makes us understand it, and makes us want to practice it. Or that it's merit if we meet authentic teachers And if we have devotion to them, and if we are able to follow their instructions, all these different steps are always merits. And so I think merit is like this auspicious interdependence, or I don't know, maybe magic glue, you know, that keeps all these great outer circumstances and inner circumstances together, that really something really good and meaningful in best case scenario, like Buddhahood, is happening. And so this is what we are talking about here. And that merit, of course, is also able to overcome obstacles, and it makes our wishes and aspirations more powerful. I'm sure you have seen Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo's recent teachings on aspiration, you know, how important aspiration is. And for that sort of, we need the backup of merit, you know, to make them really happen and manifest. And yeah, merit, I think, is that sort of, that creates the mental atmosphere so that we can have bodhicitta and then overcome our negative emotions and finally attain Buddhahood. So how do we get that thing, that merit thing? Usually it said, you know, that if we do good actions with a good motivation, that is basically what accumulates the merit. And when we look into Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo's texts, you know, all the collections of his works, you know, there are so many great practices and so many important philosophical texts also that we could contemplate upon, you know, and whatever text we practice or study and contemplate and meditate upon, they like bring about a lot of merit if we do it with the right motivation, of course. And here, Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo's practices are like the good actions that need to be practiced with a good motivation, which is bodhicitta, basically. And one of these examples, you know, of great practices to accumulate merit is, yeah, the Mandala offering that Dr. Rinpoche will explain soon. Of course, we have many other examples of accumulating merit, like reciting mantras, prayers, generally offerings, you know, like things that we own or things that we don't own, things that we only imagine maybe. Or we do 7-branch prayer, like when we recite the King of Aspiration prayer, or we practice the 6 parameters, where there's also, again, generosity, virtuous practice, meditation, or we do practice meditation, you know, that is all a very meritorious to go to pilgrimages, you know, like there's also Jamyang Khyentse Rinpoche's book on that. So, but let's now zoom more or focus more on this mandala offering, you know, which is a very famous and powerful merit creating technique. And yeah, I'm very happy to introduce my dear friend Dr. Rinpoche to then go into that text by Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo that is teaching this mandala practice, this principle of offering the universe. And Rinpoche himself translated this text so wonderfully with the help and assistance of Christian and Charles. And the text is called A Brief Explanation on the Practice and System of the 37 Heap Mandala Offering. And I think you can find Dr. Rinpoche's biography everywhere nowadays on the web, but also on our beautiful KVP website. So therefore, I would like to introduce him more personally, you know, why I think that Rinpoche is such a qualified teacher. He already feels uncomfortable, I see. And but I think it's very easy, you know, like to see why he is really good in teaching this ancient wisdom in the modern world. If we look into his life story so far, you know, he was living, quote unquote, a normal life in India for 17 years in a Tibetan family, having a normal life in Asia. And then he was recognized by His Holiness the Sacred Trijang the 41st, and then brought to Dzongsa in North India, where he studied and practiced as a monk for 13 years. And yeah, he went through all the classical training, you know, and yeah, got accustomed to all this classical wisdom of Buddha Dharma. And then after that, he became a lay practitioner in the West, living with his family, 2 kids in Germany, and teaching all over Europe, you know. So I think Rinpoche has already a very balanced life, you know, ordained or lay practitioner, East, West, ancient wisdom, modern world. So I think he is endowed sort of with all the reference points and knowledges about these different parts of being or parts of the world. So therefore, yeah, I think his teaching are very like yeah, accessible and relatable. That's it. Thank you very much. And so over to you, Rinpoche, please teach us.